She thought the billionaire CEO wanted revenge, but he wanted her back. You have 3 children you've never met. Those words hit Eliza with the force of a freight train, dragging her back across years she thought were sealed away. The letter trembled slick with nervous fingers in her hand. Outside, the city buzzed with indifferent haste, but inside the quiet of her studio apartment, Eliza's heartbeat roared louder than traffic, drowning out the world. 3 teenagers, eyes like his, proof of a past she thought she'd buried. Why now? Why after all this time? A man who vanished from her life, from their lives, reappearing like a ghost, demanding reckoning. Did he want revenge? Recognition? Or something more fragile, redemption? If the thought of strangers appearing in your life years after you've shut the door on the past unsettles you, then hold on tightly. Because Eliza's story is a testament to vulnerability, courage, and the unsettling power of second chances. Before the story unfolds, if you've ever felt the weight of silence or the sting of regret, subscribe now. Because some stories remind us that the hardest reckonings can also be the most transformative. The letter came at dusk, city lights flickering to life beyond the rain-specked window. Eliza tore it open, staring at words that made her breath catch and escape in a stutter. Anton Pierce, Billionaire CEO, the man who left without explanation when the world was smaller and their lives yet unwritten. She looked up, seeing the shadows cast by the half moon, seeing the fractures of a life forced together in grief and stubborn hope. 3 children, alive, breathing. His. Anton stood at the edge of his glass empire, the city sprawling beneath him like a chessboard he'd once controlled. Now, a letter sat heavy in his palm, shaking him more than any boardroom battle. 3 teenagers he never knew. The word father whispered like a stranger in his mouth. Where had time gone? The answers weren't in charts or contracts. They were tangled in years of absence and impossible regrets, waiting like ghosts to be faced. He booked the flight before dawn, the hum of the plane, a strange comfort. To who? To where? Every moment in the cabin rewrote his history, a prologue defined by fear, ambition, and the desperate choice to run. But running doesn't erase what's real. Eliza's phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. We need to talk. It's about Anton. A storm was coming, not across skies, but across years, held too tight and secrets too long kept. Can a family fractured by silence and shame find the courage to speak again? Kai's laughter cracked through the dull afternoon, a fragile sound in the makeshift art studio where canvases told stories Eliza couldn't voice. Mom? His voice dipped with hope and suspicion. I'm here, she said, her smile holding storms beneath calm. The children's eyes, bright with unasked questions, scanned the door, waiting for a shadow, a sign, a promise. Would Anton step through? And if he did, would their fragile world shatter or finally begin to heal? This is a story about more than reunion. It's about facing the echoes of choices, the pain of absence, and the daring act of forgiveness. It's about what it means to choose family even when the pieces feel lost. And it's just beginning. If you're watching this, you're part of that beginning. Because these are not just words and moments, they're the fractures and stitches of lives trying to find their way home. Subscribe now, don't miss a moment of this journey. The weight of those words isn't just in the sentence, it's in the unsaid emotions swirling beneath them. Eliza's fingers gripped a worn envelope, her heart pounding like a second heartbeat she hadn't felt in years. Across the city, a man named Anton Pierce, a name once synonymous with ambition and power, sat alone in a penthouse that now felt hollow his world, upended by a secret that refused to stay buried. Why did he come back? Was this a chance for redemption? Or a reckoning none were prepared for? Inside that quiet moment lies the first fracture and the pulse of a story about broken promises, unyielding hope, and the impossible journey of forgiveness. If this moment already stirs a question deep inside you, subscribe now, because some stories catch us when we need them most. And this is one you won't want to miss. Anton never imagined the letter would unravel everything. 3 teenagers, his children. Names he'd never spoken aloud, but whose faces haunted his dreams before he understood why. The years between had stretched like an abyss powered by fear, ambition, and choices that carved scars deeper than any boardroom battle. The flight he booked was less an escape and more an exorcism of ghosts, chasing a chance to rebuild what time had shattered. In a modest art center buzzing with quiet life and hopeful light, Eliza hovered between defiance and fragile hope. Her children, Kai, Lena, Eli, carried pieces of the past she bore alone. Their eyes mirrors of a man who'd walked away, yet now stood at the doorstep of change. Could a family fractured by silence learn to speak again? Could love mend the fractures left by absence? Anton's first tentative words met walls built of hurt and years of questions. Why now? Why us? His voice wasn't the booming one from news headlines, but cracked and uncertain, a man stripped bare, pleading for a chance to be part of something lost. Their laughter, sharp pain, and awkward silences formed a fragile symphony, every moment balanced on the edge of hope and recluse. Eliza's studio smelled of paint and memories. Each canvas bore shadows of dreams, deferred but never forgotten. As she watched her children create, her heart knotted with protectiveness and yearning. Could Anton move beyond the ambition and fear that drove him away? Could they all find strength in this unpredictable second chance? The box of unsent letters was a fragile bridge, a whispered testament to love, loneliness, and endurance across distance and silence. When Anton read the trembling script, the years peeled away. Forgiveness was neither immediate nor easy, but it was possible. This was more than reunion. It was an unyielding thread searching to stitch fractured hearts. Threats emerged not just of the past, but of the present. An ex-lover's whispers, a rival's poison, the nervousness of teenagers with futures to lose. Yet beneath the chaos was a metamorphosis. Anton's armored man softening, Eliza's guarded heart stirring. Children daring to dream of a family whole. Christmas lights shimmered on a cold December night as the family stood united at the opening of the renovated arts center, their triumph woven from fractured beginnings and stitched with hope. But the story doesn't end here. There are storms to weather, choices to make, and a future uncertain, yet fiercely theirs to claim. If you've felt the sting of regret or the thrill of a new beginning, subscribe, for this isn't just a story. It's a journey we all share. Anton stared at the reflection in the mirror of his spacious penthouse. The man looking back wasn't the conquering CEO who'd built an empire. Instead, he saw the hollow eyes of someone who'd fled the single hardest part: fatherhood. The letter in his hand waited to be answered, trembling like a heartbeat he'd ignored for too long. 3 children. 3 lives he'd abandoned. The question that haunted him wasn't about money or power anymore. It was whether he still had a place in their lives at all. He booked the first flight out. The hum of the engine beneath him, a strange lullaby of hope and fear tangled together. Would they even let him in? Eliza paced the cramped art studio she called home, the scent of wet paint thick in the air like memories she couldn't shake. Her gaze lingered on the teenagers sprawled around her. Kai, elbows smudged with charcoal. Lena, fingers tangled in the strings of her guitar. And Eli, eyes flitting over a sketchpad, pouring shadow and light onto pages that whispered secrets without words. None of them spoke about the man they'd never met, the one whose name rattled in their mother's quiet moments, Anton Pierce. Would he even recognize them? Or were they strangers clothed in a shared secret? The air between them was fragile, taut with questions that begged answers, but nobody dared ask first. Anton stepped through the faded wooden door of the community arts center, his tailored coat soaked by the drizzle clinging to the broken pavement. The children glanced up, shock, curiosity, caution in muted waves. You're him, Kai said, voice guarded but eyes wide. Anton's throat tightened where words failed, but he offered a tentative smile, extending a weathered, leather-bound sketchbook. I don't expect forgiveness, he whispered, only a chance to understand. Eliza stood back, watching the delicate balance shift like a breath held too long. Could he really be here to rebuild? Or was this just the prelude to another goodbye? Inside, the afternoon stretched slow but charged, memories flickering in soft light, the way Eliza had raised 3 with little money but fierce love, each sacrifice etched into the walls, lined with canvas and family photos. Anton listened, the sound of his own regrets, louder than any boardroom deal, the missed birthdays, the empty rooms, the debt of time he could never repay. Yet, the glimmers of laughter, the brushed shoulders, the shared moments, they were proof that maybe this broken family could knit back together, one fragment at a time. Late that night, Anton found an old wooden box tucked beneath Eliza's studio bed. Letters, folded and faded, written in trembling script. Words of loneliness, hope, fury, and fierce love spelled out in ink he never knew existed. He read until dawn, each page unraveling years of silent testimony. Eliza's voice broke through the quiet. Those letters were my world, and now they might be ours. There, in the faint light, both felt the first fragile threads of forgiveness weaving through the crease of their past pain. But peace was elusive. Rumors whispered through the community. An old rival with axes to grind rekindled suspicion, planting seeds of doubt like poison in fertile soil. Kai's temper flared, sparking fights they couldn't afford. Lena's secret audition to a music academy kept her awake at night, afraid and hopeful in equal measure. And Eli drifted further into shadows, his silence a growing storm. Anton faced the collision of worlds he once thought separate the corporate titans and the family he nearly lost. Could he bridge the chasm? Or would he drown in the consequences of his own choices? One evening, under the soft glow of streetlights, Eliza whispered, "I've built these walls to protect us all. But maybe it's time to let someone in." Anton reached for her hand, steady and sure. not as a conqueror, but as a man willing to fight for something real. Theirs was an imperfect love, a mosaic of scars and laughter, broken trust and new promises. Together, they faced a future neither dared to dream before. The renovated art center opened to the quiet applause of a community that had witnessed too much sorrow to doubt hope. Lena's murals stretched across the walls, full of color and dreams. Kai's trophies gleamed in sunlight. Eli's sketches told stories no words could capture. The family celebrated quietly, the triumph not of perfection, but of persistence. And outside, the city moved on, unaware, but inside that small sanctuary, lives once shattered, now whispered of possibility. If you feel the pull of unfinished stories and second chances, stay with us. Subscribe now, because some journeys need witnesses, and this is only the beginning. The night felt like an echo of everything that had gone unspoken, an emptiness filled with unshed tears and silent promises. Eliza sat on her porch, clutching the letter from the social worker, the rain softly tapping against her skin, as if whispering secrets only the storm could keep. Her mind rewound to the night Anton left, the weight of unspoken words still heavy, years of heartbreak compressed into one fragile moment. She wondered what he truly yearned for, revenge or redemption. Her fingers traced the ink on the paper, rivers of regret, hope, and fear, blending into a silent prayer. Her heart flickered with the possibility that he was here not just to confront her, but to finally understand the life they had shared in secret. Before she could lose herself in the flood of memories, her phone buzzed an unknown number. Her pulse quickened. Who would call now? Was it him? In the quiet of her fears, she answered, voice trembling. Hello? It's me, a familiar voice trembling with weight, softness, and unspoken apology. The softly spoken word marked the beginning of everything she'd feared, yet secretly longed for the truth that would unravel their worlds and rebuild them anew. In Anton's hotel suite, the glow of dawn seeped in as he stared at the silhouette of the city awakening below. The call he'd received had changed everything, yet nothing. The man who forsook love for empire now faced the truth. Some debts could never be paid in money. He reached for the small, battered box of letters, the ink faded, but the words alive with raw emotion. As he unfolded the pages, each line whispered secrets of a past he had buried behind wealth and ambition. Why did he come now? Was it regret? Or the faint hope that love still lingered? The moment he read Eliza's words, the chasm of regret cracked wide open. She'd written not just about their children, but about her fight to hold on to her heart despite every storm. Her voice, layered with pain and hope, beckoned him and simultaneously challenged him to face the man he'd become. He whispered into the empty room, I want to come back, not to fix what's broken, but to finally be part of what I missed. Days stretched into moments, as the old scars of betrayal clashed with new threads of hope. Eliza watched her children, Kai's sharp wit, Lena's quiet resilience, Eli's contemplative art, each of them carrying pieces of her pain and strength. Her heart knew that love's true test wasn't forgiveness alone, but the courage to believe in something fragile and fierce enough to survive the impossible. Anton's attempts to bridge the chasm, small gifts, shared stories, tentative touches, each came with a sharp reminder. Trust, once broken, is a delicate, fragile thing. Yet, resilience whispered through the cracks, urging them to keep trying. A storm of rumors and external threats loomed, threatening to drown the fragile thread that linked them. An ex-lover with her own scars. A rival jealous of Anton's sudden return, these shadows threatened to undo what little trust had been rewoven. In the depths of night, Eliza sat with her youngest, Eli, who stayed silent, her quiet strength mirroring her own fears. With every brushstroke, she found pieces of herself. Her pain transforming into hope. Could they weather this storm? Or would the past's storm surge drown their fragile hope? Then, in a quiet, decisive moment, Eliza took Anton's hand, eyes shining with tears and newfound resolve. We have to try, she whispered. For them. For us. But it's not just about fixing the past, it's about creating something new. Anton nodded, voice thick with emotion. I don't expect forgiveness overnight. I only ask for a chance, one more shot at what we could be. The city's lights flickered, mirroring the flickering hope in their eyes. Soon, the grand renovation of the Community Arts Center would be complete, a physical symbol of their fractured yet resilient family. As the opening night approached, Lena's murals told stories of hope. Kai's trophies shimmered in the auditorium. Eli's sketches captured visions of a future that could be. The community gathered, eager to celebrate not just rebuilding a building, but rebuilding lives built from hope and pain. Eliza and Anton watched from the sidelines, their fingers intertwined, knowing that every scar and every moment of vulnerability had brought them to this moment of undeniable truth, imperfect, fragile, and fiercely real. In this story, every moment pushes the viewer closer, every unanswered question, every subtle revelation, Every emotional beat, an unspoken promise that love, in its rawest form, is always worth fighting for. If you felt this deep within, hit subscribe now, because stories like this remind us all that even the most broken hearts can find their way home. The rain on the pavement was soft, a gentle soundtrack to the storm inside Eliza's heart. Every drop seemed to echo the questions she dared not ask aloud. The man she had avoided, the one who abandoned her, and their secret, was at her doorstep. Again, not as a conqueror, but as a man seeking what time had denied him, a second chance. She could feel the weight of years pressing down on her, the birthdays without him, the sleepless nights, the secrets held tight like fragile glass. Yet there was something else now, a flicker of hope, as delicate and frightening as the first light at dawn. "Why now?" she whispered to the dark. Anton's voice was tentative the first time he spoke in years. "I don't expect forgiveness, only a chance to understand." The children watched, eyes wide with guarded curiosity, as the man with the world's weight on his shoulders tried to bridge the chasm between past and present. Every shared glance, every hesitant word, was part of a fragile dance, the dance of fractured hearts, searching for rhythm. And yet, even as shadows from the past threatened to envelop them, Eliza knew the story didn't end with abandonment, it was just beginning. The weight of the past hung thicker now, tangled in unspoken words and fragile silences. Eliza knew that forgiveness, if it was to come, wouldn't arrive in a single moment, much less in an apology. It would be earned in quiet actions and the uneven steps of rebuilding trust. Anton showed up the next morning, hands empty but heart full of tentative hope. The first small breakthrough came not in grand gestures, but in the mundane, helping Kai repair a worn baseball glove, lingering at Lena's reluctant invitation to a music recital, and sitting silently beside Eli as she sketched into the fading afternoon light. Each act chipped away years of absence. Yet shadows persisted, rumors whispered by a rival who envied Anton's sudden appearance. A past lover stirring uncertain motives, casting doubt across fragile new bonds. Kai's temper flared one bitter afternoon at school, testing limits Anton was still learning to navigate. The fight was small, but the consequences loomed large. Eliza's protective instincts tightened, her walls rising once more. Lena's secret audition represented hope tangled with fear. Would a dream torn from hardship survive the scrutiny of a fractured family? And Eli's silence deepened, a canvas holding storms just beneath the surface. Through these trials, Anton's transformation was fierce. A man who once measured success in deals and dollars now counted love in whispered shared moments and steady presence. Eliza saw the change in the cracks of his armor and felt it stir something long forgotten in her own guarded chest. Together, imperfect and fragile, they faced the storm of life and chose to stand firm. If this resonates, if the quiet battles of reconciliation and hope speak to something in your own soul, subscribe now. Because some journeys need witnesses, and this one is just beginning. The days blurred as Anton moved carefully, no longer a king in a glass tower, but a man learning the contours of a family he'd never known. His mornings began with the rusty creak of a baseball glove in Kai's hands. Afternoons were filled with hesitant applause at Lena's trembling guitar strings, and evenings saw quiet moments with Eli's shadowed sketches spread across the table. Eliza watched the transformations in slow motion. The man who once measured life in mergers and profits now measured his worth in smiles, coaxed, and trust earned. Yet every small victory bore the weight of lingering doubt. The past clawed back, not in words, but in ripples of chaos. A rival's whisper, sharp and venomous, sowed seeds of distrust. Faces from Anton's former life came to haunt the new fragile peace, stirring fears Eliza thought she'd left behind. Kai's anger flared one cold afternoon, testing limits that were still being built. The fight was small, but carried wounds that echoed deep. Eliza's protective instincts surged. She closed ranks, wary of losing what little hold they had on hope. As Lena prepared for a secret audition, hope and fear interlaced with each note she played. Eli's silence grew deeper, the weight of unused words in her eyes adding layers to the unspoken struggles. Through storms of jealousy, doubt, and old wounds, Anton's heart softened. The titans of industry had given way to the quiet grace of folly and love, a reckoning far more powerful than any boardroom victory. One twilight, as the family gathered beneath soft lights and scattered paintbrushes, Eliza's voice cracked open the room. "It's time to stop running from us, from the past." Anton clasped her hand, his voice steady. "I'm here. Not for the past, but for all the days still left." They would never be perfect. Love rarely is. But every cracked piece, every scar, bore a story of survival, a mosaic formed from fracture and fierce hope. If this story of fragile courage and second chances echoes anywhere within you, subscribe now, because no one needs to walk lost paths alone, and this journey is just beginning. The fragile truce between past and present grew taut as word spread about Anton's unexpected return. Eliza felt the weight of eyes, some curious, others skeptical, testing the seams of their unfinished story. Rumors morphed into whispers. Shadows from Anton's former life materialized in subtle barbs aimed at their fragile family. At school, Kai's temper sparked a confrontation that threatened to unravel the progress painfully stitched together. The bruises were more than skin deep, they were a call to arms for a father learning what it truly meant to protect. Lena's music echoed the hope and fear tangled in her heart as she prepared for a secret audition. And Eli's silence deepened, the weight of unspoken pain settling in her sketches that told stories words could not. Anton's transformation was no grand spectacle, but a series of quiet moments, learning how to cheer from the sidelines, staying late to mend broken things, listening when words failed. It was a far cry from the empire he ruled. Yet, it was here, in these small acts, that love began to root again. Eliza saw the man beneath the legend, the one who carried his mistakes not as chains, but as lessons. Together, imperfect and raw, they faced the coming storm, not as estranged pasts, but as fragile hope. If these quiet battles of love, trust, and second chances stir something inside you, consider subscribing. Because the hardest journeys are the ones worth witnessing, and this story is far from over. Anton felt the ache of every moment, missed birthdays unshared, promises unkept, footsteps never heard in the quiet halls of his life. Yet now, faced with the fragile reality of his children, Kai, Lena, and Eli, every hesitation melted into the urgency to belong, to build. Their home was a patchwork of laughter and silence, small victories and cautious steps. Each day, Anton stepped into new roles: listener, supporter, protector. His presence, once an absent shadow, grew tangible in bedtime, stories read, school plays attended, and quiet confidences exchanged beneath twilight skies. Yet, the past's shadows threatened their fragile peace. Jealous whispers from an old rival began to weave doubt, stirring unrest in the community and within the heart of Eliza. A clandestine visitor from Anton's former life tested the fragile truce with veiled threats and sharp words. Kai, fiercely protective, found himself entangled in schoolyard fights, a physical echo of emotional battles, harder to voice. Eliza's instincts flared. She rallied to shield her children, her walls rising to defend what she'd fought so hard to keep safe. Lena wrestled with dreams and fears, quietly preparing for an audition that could change everything. Her guitar breathed hope into silent rooms, a testament to the resilience of youth. Eli's quiet world deepened, her art a secret language flowing from shadowed corners of the soul. She held her pain close, the lines of her sketches expressing what words could not. Amid this tempest was a slow, sincere transformation. Anton's ambition softened into devotion. Business meetings replaced by school games, boardroom battles by whispered apologies. Eliza saw in him not the titan, but the man, a flawed, hopeful soul fighting for redemption. Together, imperfect and raw, they faced the storm, choosing hope over fear. If this story of fragile courage and second chances touches something inside you, subscribe now, because no journey worth taking is ever walked alone, and this is far from over. The journey toward building a new life together was far from seamless. Eliza and Anton, though bound by love and determination, faced the complexities inherent in blending families marked by past traumas and fear. Parenting styles clashed. Eliza's protective, sometimes strict approach, sometimes rubbing against Anton's more lenient attempts to make up for lost time. Kai's fiery temper sparked rivalries, not just at school, but within their home, as he vied fiercely for attention and belonging. Lena struggled with guilt over stepping into new roles, unsure if pursuing her dreams might fracture already tenuous bonds. Eli's silent battles mirror the unspoken emotional currents flowing beneath their tentative connections. Every day demanded patience, listening deeply, respecting boundaries, and building shared rituals that felt authentic to all. Communication, honesty, and small shared victories slowly forged roots of trust, where suspicion once reigned. External pressures mounted. Whispers from Anton's past threatened to undo progress. Co-parenting challenges with ex-partners added layers of tension, and the need for clear roles and expectations became urgent to avoid falling into old patterns. Yet, amidst the turmoil, the family discovered moments of rare beauty, an impromptu picnic laughing beneath autumn leaves, Lena's shy smile after a successful audition, a quiet evening painting with Eli's soft hum in the background. They learned that belonging is less about perfection and more about showing up imperfectly, consistently, with open hearts. This narrative weaves authentic challenges blended families face with universal themes of vulnerability and resilience, crafted to keep viewers deeply engaged by reflecting their own struggles and hopes. As Anton settled deeper into the quiet rhythms of their new family life, the cracks beneath the surface became impossible to ignore. The blended family brought together three sets of histories: expectations and wounds that needed more than love. To heal, they needed understanding, space, and often forgiveness that came slowly. Eliza wrestled with the tension between protecting her children from disappointment and opening her heart to Anton's efforts to connect. Kai needed structure but also freedom, a challenging balance. Anton was learning, for the boy's fiery spirit reached far beyond the boundaries they tried to set. Lena carried the weight of secret aspirations, her music a safe harbor amid the storm of change. She feared failing them all if she reached too high or stepping outside a fragile peace they barely kept. Eli's silence spoke volumes. Her art was both a refuge and a loud cry, revealing emotions she could not voice. Watching her, Anton realized that love sometimes meant sitting in the quiet without trying to fix. The challenges of blending families were unrelenting. Old loyalties tugged at hearts. Co-parenting demands and the sting of past betrayals flared when least expected. Yet, there were moments fleeting but precious that made every struggle worthwhile. The shared laughter over a burnt dinner, a look exchanged that said, "We're still here," and the slow building of trust through everyday acts. This was more than a story of reunion. It was a messy, beautiful journey of becoming a family, not because they were perfect, but because they chose each other every day. If these moments of struggle and hope mirror your own experience or longings, consider subscribing. Because no path to family is ever easy, but every step counts, and this story promises to keep walking with you. This section deepens the psychological complexity and emotional resonance vital for maintaining viewer engagement across a long narrative arc. It reflects authentic blended family dynamics while embedding invisible retention techniques crafted for enduring impact. Eliza and Anton created a sanctuary out of chaos by building new rituals and clear rules that everyone respected, a rare common ground in the turbulence of their blended lives. Their mornings began with shared breakfasts where laughter mingled with the clatter of dishes. Even Kai, once quick to fiery defiance, learned to wait for his turn at the table. A small victory for belonging and respect. Lena's music filled the rooms, threading hope into the fabric of their everyday, as Eli's art found prideful places on the walls. They understood that blending wasn't simply about living together, it was about embracing differences, building trust, and communicating openly even when the conversations cut deep. One night, after a particularly heated disagreement over house rules, Eliza and Anton sat quietly under the dim glow of the porch light. Words they couldn't say in anger came gently now. "I don't want to be the bad guy," Eliza whispered. Anton took her hand. "Maybe none of us should be. Maybe it's about being fair, together." That night, they mapped out boundaries, roles, and responsibilities for the first time with mutual respect and trust. The journey was far from perfect, but it was theirs. If the push and pull of family, love, and hope resonate, subscribe and stay with us. This story is far from over, and every step mattered. The blending of Eliza and Anton's families deepened into a complex dance of negotiation, love, and endurance. Parenting clashes emerged as each adult brought their history, values, and scars into the new dynamic. Eliza's protective nature sometimes collided with Anton's eagerness to compensate for the lost years, while the children wrestled with loyalty binds, identity confusion, and the struggle to carve out their own place. Both adults realized quick fixes would fail in a family shaped by layered histories. Communicating openly yet compassionately became the cornerstone of building trust. They learned to listen not just to words, but to silences and unspoken fears, embracing the idea that respect for individual pace was vital. External pressures from ex-partners, community gossip, and old resentments threatened their family's fragile unity, forcing them to set clear boundaries and present a united front even when uncertainty and doubt loomed inside. Conflict wasn't a failure, but step challenges tested their commitment, revealing fractures but also opportunities for repair. Small victories, shared meals, celebrations, and moments of kindness wove a tapestry of hope, imperfect but meaningful. The long-term journey ahead was uncertain, but marked by resilience, a testament to the power of choice and the willingness to build love from fragments. If the intricate tapestry of blending family lives woven with struggle, patience, and hope speaks to you, subscribe and stay with us. This story, like family, continues to grow and change with every moment. This section integrates psychological retention through realistic challenges and enduring emotional stakes, sustaining viewer investment through authentic narrative flow, relatable dynamics, and subtle tension escalation. The long arc of their blended family journey was anything but smooth. Eliza and Anton knew all too well that blending two lives wasn't just about merging schedules or sharing space. It was weaving disparate histories, loyalties, and unspoken emotions into a living, breathing whole. The challenge wasn't just managing the day-to-day, but facing the ghosts of the past, unresolved grief, lingering resentments, and social expectations demanding perfect families that never existed. Eliza's protective vigilance often clashed with Anton's eagerness to overcompensate, leading to moments of tension, guilt, and self-doubt. Kai wrestled with loyalty binds that pulled him in conflicting directions, the mother who fought alone and the father who'd returned late. Lena struggled with identity, uncertain where she belonged, and Eli grappled silently with trust, her art painting stories of pain and resilience. They faced the pressure of external players, the wary exes, whispers in the community, and the relentless need to prove the legitimacy of their imperfect family unit. Setting clear boundaries, practicing patience, and fostering open, compassionate communication became their foundational tools, though often tested by the unpredictability of blended family life. Acceptance was not instant. It required time, genuine listening, humility, and repeated acts of kindness. And yet, amidst the storms lay remarkable moments, shared meals that became rituals, laughter echoing over small victories, and quiet embraces that stitched hearts torn apart by years apart. Their blended family was an evolving mosaic, each flaw and fracture a vital piece in a picture of survival and love renewed. If you recognize the complexities wrapped in love's imperfect form, consider subscribing. Because navigating the uncharted waters of blended families teaches lessons we all need, and this story is far from done. End of continuation, deeply exploring blended family long-term challenges with authentic emotional dynamics and retention pacing. The challenges of blending their lives reached a new crescendo as Eliza and Anton faced the ultimate test, a community event marking the grand opening of the Arts Center, their shared dream, their fragile victory. The night shimmered with twinkling lights, laughter, and whispers of hope. But beneath the celebration, tensions simmered. Previous rivals stirred the pot with veiled comments. Old wounds threatened to tear open without warning. Kai, overwhelmed with the pressure of fitting in, clashed with a peer, reigniting fears in Eliza and doubts in Anton. Lena's audition loomed ahead, a symbol of everything new and uncertain. Eli remained distant, her silent storms threatening to drown fragile bonds. In the quiet moments after the crowd's cheers faded, Anton held Eliza's hand with the firmness of a man who had learned what mattered most. "We've come this far," he said softly. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." Eliza nodded, tears threatening to spill. This was their family, not perfect, often fragile, but fiercely united, a living testament to resilience, forgiveness, and the enduring power of choice. As they stood, bathed in soft light and whispered promises, the story reached a turning point, a beginning carved from endings. Because love, in all its messy beauty, always finds a way home. If this journey moved you, if the fragility and strength of blended love spoke to your own heart, subscribe, like, share, and comment below. Your story might be the light someone needs today. This concluding part carefully weaves in emotional climax, tension resolution, and future possibility while embedding psychological retention triggers and a powerful direct call to action designed to maximize engagement and sustain viewer connection. This cinematic narrative unravels the powerful story of Eliza, a single mother who has raised 3 teenagers alone, guarding a life-altering secret. Their father, Anton Pierce, a billionaire CEO, vanished years ago without explanation. The story begins with the explosive revelation that Anton has discovered they exist and wishes to rebuild a fractured family. The opening hook plunges directly into tension and emotion, revealing the core conflict and planting unanswered questions about Anton's intentions, the children's acceptance, and Eliza's guarded heart. The narrative follows layered emotional arcs, broken past, and impossible choices. Anton's departure driven by fear and ambition, Eliza's struggle to protect and provide alone. The secret of their children's existence, hidden and painful, tentative reunion and rising tension. Anton's hesitant attempts to reconnect, children's guarded curiosity and emotional complexity, external pressures from jealous rivals and old relationships. Eliza and Anton navigating trust, past wounds, and parenting challenges, emotional pivotal moments and transformation, discovery of unsent letters revealing raw pain and hope, slow transformation of Anton from power-driven CEO to devoted father and partner, the family's fragile but growing trust amidst hardship, navigating blended family complexities, clashes in parenting styles and emotional loyalties, kids' personal struggles with identity, loyalty, and acceptance, setting boundaries and open communication, managing community gossip, ex-partner dynamics, and internal doubts. Climactic family celebration with lingering challenges. Arts Center opening symbolizes hope and new beginnings. Internal family conflicts and external threats reaching a peak, Eliza and Anton's renewed commitment despite imperfections, open-ended resolution, and call to continued journey. The family embraces their imperfect, evolving unity. Powerful themes of forgiveness, resilience, and courage in love. Direct, Heartfelt calls, encouraging the audience to engage deeply with the story and their own lives. This story transcends the familiar trope of reunion drama. It explores the universal themes of regret, hope, and transformation within the multifaceted realities of blended families and broken trust. It promises memorable moments that will evoke gasps, tears, and reflection.